Coming up on the Paper Talk today, we'll be looking at what is going wrong with Andre Onana and Casemiro. A few articles regarding them. Also, Jadon Sancho, could he be given a lifeline in Italy? Looks like there could be something happening for him in January, perhaps. And the Takeover saga. It is a saga. Will it ever end? Let's find out. Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, we're outside Old Trafford and it's mild. It's debatable whether you actually need your parka. I was dithering this morning on whether to wear it, but I decided to go for it because it is a bit cloudy. It might start raining. Anyway, enough of that nonsense. Let's get into the news stories. There's a few stories doing the rounds this morning. I mean, we're going into this international break, another one, but we're going on a little bit of a high after a win over Brentford. Listen, beating Brentford at home isn't the biggest result in the world, but the nature of that result, the fact that it took 2 injury time goals to get there, means we were looking at defeat. We've got a win. We can at least maybe have a little bit of a breather during this international break, because had we lost that game, the pressure would have been mounting on Erik ten Hag even more so than it was a couple of weeks ago or a week ago even. It just feels like there's been a little bit of breathing space there for the manager and for the club in general, the team in general. So we'll look at what's going on anyway with all that. Jadon Sancho, there's a report in the papers this morning that, I think this was doing the rounds yesterday as well. I've seen it on TNT Sports. It's been on ESPN. It's been on other newspapers as well, that Juventus could be in for him in January. A loan move with a view to a permanent deal. That would make sense to me. I don't think Jadon Sancho does have a future at Manchester United. I've been saying that for a long time. Now, you may look at it and you go, well, Jay, you said something similar about Scott McTominay not long ago. Now he's the greatest player in the history of association football. It's different. Scott McTominay was never banished from the first team training. He was never publicly criticised by the manager or went back and criticised the manager himself, kind of, on social media. Jadon Sancho, he's not even training with the first team from what we gather. He's not on the bench, he's not in a squad. It just doesn't seem like there's been any sort of progression there in terms of building the relationship or rebuilding the relationship between Erik ten Hag and Jadon Sancho. I think he needs to move on. If Juve are in for him, one of the biggest clubs in the world, then makes sense that he goes there. We'll wait and see what happens, but I'd be very surprised if Jadon Sancho plays for Manchester United again. And if he can get a move to Juventus, I think personally the kid should take it. Just a couple of loanee performances. Alvaro Fernandez played his part in a 2-2 draw. Granada drawing with Barcelona. He played just under an hour. They drew 2-2. Big result for them. I mean, Barcelona had to get, I think it was a late winner there, 85th minute winner from Sergio Roberto. And you probably see it doing the rounds. Mason Greenwood scored his first goal in years for Getafe. Obviously, he's alone there, so he scored for them. So those are a couple of news stories about loanees. I'm not going to get into the whole Mason Greenwood thing. He's still a Manchester United player. He's just on loan. And obviously, Alvaro Fernandez is someone that we thought might be given a chance with all the injuries we've got this season, but he wasn't. So he's making the most of it at his new club, Granada. Let's talk about Raphael Varane. Obviously didn't feature against Brentford. The latest update is that he will be back for the Sheffield United game. Apparently it's a minor issue and he should be back for the game on October the 21st. Obviously it's an international break now. He retired from international football after the World Cup, so he's not going anywhere. He's not playing for France. Hopefully he can get himself fit. We need him back. It has been an ongoing issue with Raphael Varane, the amount of injuries he gets, and it is really sort of frustrating, but he should be back for the Sheffield United game, hopefully getting back in the team. And it's debatable now whether he's going to play alongside Harry Maguire or Victor Lindelof. It would seem that Victor Lindelof was the first choice, but Harry Maguire gave a very good account of himself against Brentford. Well, decent account of himself against Brentford. So, who knows? Lindelof had a bit of a stinker, didn't he? We'll have to wait and see for that one. Another one for Erik ten Hag to sort out. Just on the Takeover news as well. I had a story yesterday about David Beckham. David Beckham gave an interview at the Qatar Grand Prix where he spoke about knowing the right people to sort of steady the ship or to take over at Manchester United, to sort Manchester United out. I'm paraphrasing here. He was asked whether that person was Sheikh Jassim, and he said, we'll see. There's a little sort of off-the-cuff comment there. Now, there's a news story doing the rounds about the financial reports from Manchester United. It says this is in the Daily Mail, in 9 of the last 10 years, Manchester United have issued their annual financial results in September. However, amid the never-ending takeover saga, there is no sign of this year's report well into October. Some wonder if the announcement is being delayed to coincide with news on potential new ownership, or whether this is just the latest instance of the Glazer family kicking the can down the road. Now, it has been almost a year since the Glazers did that announcement about strategic alternatives, which everyone took to mean that there was going to be new ownership. Recently, we saw a story about Sir Jim Ratcliffe making a different offer or restructuring his offer or another proposal on top of his original offer of buying 25% of the club, buying a stake in the club, which would lead to a full takeover further down the line, which is quite similar to the way the Glazers did it. They didn't come in straight away and buy all the shares of Manchester United and become the owners of Manchester United. They did it gradually. And this is what we're seeing, or we could be seeing with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. On the flip side to that, you've also got David Beckham, who may or may not be tied to the Sheikh Jassim bid. And now you've got these financial reports being delayed, or maybe we don't even get him. I don't know. Now, it has happened before. I think they have been out in October before. I think just after the COVID time when we had a bit of a loss. But it is strange, like you say, 9 out of the 10 last times they've been reported, it's been in September. So when you look at all the different stories doing the rounds there, you wonder, is there something going on? Could there be some movement on the takeover? I hope so, because one, I want to see the back of the Glazers, and two, this has been dragging on now for far too long. Not just the 11 months since we had that strategic alternatives announcement, but the 18 years since he took over has been an absolute shambles, and we want to see him gone. And these constant stories and twists and turns are just incredibly frustrating, because nothing is quite concrete. I know there's a lot of NDAs and all the other stuff going on, but I'm hoping with these various stories we've seen over the last few days and last couple of weeks, there could be some movement. Just want to talk a couple of little bits as well. These are more opinion pieces doing the rounds. There's something on Casemiro about how he's been struggling. I mean, I've seen a few stories saying this about the fact that it's not been a great start to the season for him. Obviously, he was hooked at half-time on Saturday, and he needed to put in a decent performance. I stood here a few weeks ago, or a couple of weeks ago, saying that we needed Casemiro to step up, and the opposite has been true. I mean, that was as bad as I've seen him play for Manchester United, I think, against Brentford. I don't know whether he's carrying or not. There was no indication that he was. There's a piece in the Independent saying what has happened to Casemiro, the Manchester United midfielder, exposed, isolated and bypassed. Kind of agree with that. It's not been great, has it? You could argue he needs a bit more help, but even so, needing more help is one thing. Giving the ball away and then lunging in is another. Wasn't good enough from Casemiro, and he needs to step up sooner, rather than later. Also, there was an article on Andre Onana. Man United legend Peter Schmeichel. Well, I disagree with the first line there. Last time I checked, United legends don't cartwheel in front of the United fans when Manchester City are beating us. Well, maybe that's just me being old-fashioned. Anyway, he says he insists Onana's mistakes are upsetting the whole team. Says the defence is losing faith in the goalkeeper. Listen, I kind of get that. I kind of have to agree with it, because you can see there is a bit of nerves there. But I will say this. The defence at the minute isn't even remotely a stable defence. You've got constant changes, constant coming and goings. Centre-backs, you've got different centre-backs almost every single game. At full-backs, you've either got Sofian Amrabat, or you've got Diogo Dalot, or you've got Victor Lindelof operating there, or maybe Sergio Reguilon comes in. Like I said about the centre-backs, it's either Varane, or it's been Martinez, or it's been Maguire, or it's been Lindelof, or it's been Johnny Evans. So that doesn't help matters as well. When you've got this instability in defence and you've got a goalkeeper that's struggling, it doesn't make for a good combination. So hopefully we can get some stability in front of Andre Onana. He can get his mojo back, and United can go flying back up the table. Just finally on that front as well, there's been a lot of negativity this season, and I understand it. We've lost a lot of games, and when you look at some of the games we've lost, losing at home to Brentford, losing at home to Crystal Palace, losing at home to Galatasaray, those are bad results. You can kind of forgive defeats against Arsenal when you've been a little bit unlucky. Spurs game, I felt we were good in the first half, poor in the second half. Bayern Munich away, weren't a great performance, but losing away to Bayern Munich isn't the end of the world. But some of the home results have been poor, and that's why there's been pressure on this manager and on this football team. However, I think we do need a little bit of perspective. It's not all doom and gloom. It's not quite the end of the world, because don't get carried away with a win over Brentford, especially one that was a bit of a smash and grab, 2 late goals if you look at it. But we're now 3 points worse off this season than we were at the same stage last season. Now, you might look at it and go, okay, we played City and we beat them, we played Arsenal last season, we beat them, so it's slightly different. But the point I'm making is we were able last season to turn the season around, to keep going and to finish in third. It's too early to write off this Manchester United team. It's too early to write off this manager. When you look at some of the results we've had, they've not been great. But we've been here before. You look at the way the table is as well. There's a lot of football left to play. Yes, we've got some big games still left to play, but there's still a lot of games ahead of us. We're only, what is it? And I say only. We're 6 points behind Manchester City. 6 points behind them, 8 games in, isn't great. I'm not going to pretend it is. But this is a City side that's just won the treble, and everyone says is nailed on to win the league. So it's not quite the sort of doom and gloom. I think we're 1 point, is it 1 point behind Newcastle? And everyone looks at Newcastle as having a decent season, a good team going places. And you look at Manchester United and it's like, oh, Ten Hag don't know what he's doing. Eddie Howe does know what he's doing. Again, you can look at it and say Newcastle have had good results in the Champions League when Manchester United haven't. But the point I'm making is it's far too soon to write off Manchester United. It's far too soon to write off Erik Ten Hag. Yes, there's lots of issues to fix, but if you look at where we are in the Premier League table, you look at where we were last season, you look at how we turned it around, there's still a lot of light left at the end of the tunnel. I'm going to leave it there. Make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. We're back later on with the Paddock podcast. Go and check out all the other videos as well. Go and bask in the glory of that 2-1 win over Brentford. You'll see Stephen House's reactions and Andy Tate's reactions. If you haven't seen them already, and mine and Joe's if you want them as well. Don't forget as well to hit like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.